Oh, this feels like a big one, doesn't it? Right, Bose versus Sony. XM6 versus the Quiet Comfort Ultra Gen 2s. I've had loads of requests for this particular comparison, and I can see why. They are the titans of noise-cancelling headphones, and one of them has to win, doesn't it? And I do have a winner, I promise, which I'll get to at the end. But if you're trying to decide between these two, or you've bought one of these pairs of headphones and you're trying to justify your purchase, that happens a lot in the comments on this channel, then this is the video to watch. Now, the QC Ultra 2s, I describe them as a sensible mid-season refresh because they are just a minor update over the Gen 1s. The XM6 I described as Sony's return to form, which fixed a lot of the issues with the XM5s. However, both of these headphones had very good reviews from me overall. I've said several times these are the best on the market. But one has to win, doesn't it? Let's get into it. Let's start with the pricing. These aren't cheap headphones because they're from the two big players, and this is what you pay for flagship ANC headphones in 2026. The XM6 are $399 in the UK and $459 in the US. The QC Ultra 2s are $449 in both countries, which is a weird kind of currency thing going on, but we are used to that in 2026. The interesting thing here is that you can get the XM6 for cheaper if you shop around, and Sony does occasionally do some discounting of their own, as does Bose, but generally speaking, the Bose are a bit more expensive than the XM6. The reason for that, I think, is because Bose positions these as premium ANC headphones for a few reasons I'll come on to in a moment. The XM6 are Sony's flagship noise-cancelling headphones, but there's elements of them that kind of suggest they're not as premium as these, which I don't think is fair, but I'll get to that in a second. But you can't deny that the XM6 are cheaper, which means these have quite a job on their hands. Some interesting spec comparisons: 35mm drivers, 30mm drivers. I know some people have very strong opinions on that. They both have 30 hours of battery life, although the XM6 charge faster, so 3 minutes gets you 3 hours, whereas it takes 15 minutes to get 3 hours with these. Bluetooth 5.3, Bluetooth 5.4, LDAC high-res codec, aptX adaptive high-res codec, USB-C audio, no. Yes. 10-band EQ control, 3-band EQ control, spatial audio, they both have that. They have something called immersive audio, and these have something called 360 reality audio. They both have multi-point connectivity via Bluetooth for 2 devices on each of these. Let's get to the design and the comfort. Just a very quick word from today's sponsor, which is Maono and the PD200W hybrid microphone. This is the first hybrid microphone built specifically for creators, and as you can see, it's wireless. And that means if you do loads of podcasting or you go outside and do stuff, you don't have to be bothered with cables and all that clutter everywhere. It's just so convenient. And yes, if you want to, you can still plug it in via XLR or USB-C, but the wireless thing is really compelling. Straight out of the box, this is a very well made mic, and it has a fantastic stand that comes with it, but the most important thing is the audio quality. Let's do a very quick test. This is the audio from the PD200W mic, and this is the audio from my very expensive studio mic. Not bad. The Maono also has built-in noise reduction, which is very handy if tractors drive past my studio, which happens all the time, or if I have the air conditioning on. This is the raw audio. This is noise reduction with minus 13 dB. This is minus 20 dB, and this is the full minus 28 dB. Very, very handy in noisy environments. But remember, this is a hybrid microphone, so I can plug it into my phone with this USB-C adapter, which is very nice, and I can use that XLR connection here, or I can go fully wireless, as I am now, with this 2.4 gigahertz signal. On top of all of that, you get dual track recording, a 60-meter wireless range, 60 hours of battery life, and live controls for gain, volume, and mute. This mic has everything. So whether you're starting out or you're running a pro setup, the Maono PD200W hybrid microphone gives you the freedom to record from anywhere. Check out the link in the description. I can't normally do this. The first thing I'll say is that they're both very light headphones, incredibly comfortable as well. Stop talking to me. That the Bose, by the way, they talk to you when you put them on your head, so they tell you what they're connected to in terms of the device that you've got and also how much battery life's left, but it can be a bit disconcerting at times. These are 250 grams. These are 254 grams. You can feel the difference. These are definitely heavier, but again, they're very light. They're both light headphones. The interesting thing is that the XM6 have bigger internal cups. So if you've struggled to fit your ears into certain headphones, these might be better. These are noticeably smaller. So on my ears, they do feel a bit more snug. Not uncomfortably so, but it's definitely worth bearing that in mind. In terms of the design, this is where things start to swing in Bose's favor, and it's where you're spending a bit more money and getting something for that money. The XM6 are plastic. They're very plasticky, not in a bad way. It feels pretty nice. They do smudge loads. The black ones smudge a lot, and they do look a little bit unsightly fairly quickly. The Bose QC Ultra 2s, this particular colour I think is lovely. We have aluminium arms, which we don't have. Are they aluminium? I don't think they are. We'll put down here exactly what they are on the Sonys, but these are very clearly aluminium, and they do look a little bit more premium as a result. We do have the Bose logo in that kind of shiny metal finish as well, which makes them just look nice and premium. If I had to pick one of the two in terms of comfort, it would probably be the Bose, just because they are a bit lighter, so for longer listening sessions, they're a bit better. But it's so close. The thing that is not close at all, but again, they kind of both score quite highly, the case. I'm a massive headphone case bore, and I think it's very important for a lot of people, including myself, because I put my headphones in cases and chuck them into my bag, and it's important the case isn't too big and all that sort of stuff. The XM6 case is very, very good. It has a latch, magnetic latch, and it's not too big because they fold properly. They do that. That's fantastic news. So they go into the headphone case like that, and it's so quick to open and close. Love it. The Bose fold correctly as well, so they do that. And the case, if I just put them in here, firstly has a zip. A bit less convenient than this, but again, it's a very good case. The Bose case is slightly smaller, as you can possibly see. I can't see there. Trust me, it's slightly smaller than the XM6 case, but they're both very, very good. The other thing to talk about very quickly, see, it takes longer to get those out compared to those, is the control surface. They have the exact same approach here. So they both have two buttons, one for power and Bluetooth pairing, and the other one for noise cancelling. And you can customize that button on both of them. The rest of the controls are touch. So it's, play, pause, flick up and down on the XM6 for volume. The Bose are slightly easier to use because the volume is here. You kind of rub your thumb across that and it acts as a volume control. I don't like touch controls on headphones, but both of these brands have kind of given me something that works. So as much as I would prefer proper buttons for everything, they've both done a good job. Now the first of the big comparisons, sound. I did 2 rounds of audio testing with these headphones. The first one was with Apple Music and the AAC codec, and the second one was with this Motorola signature phone and LDAC and aptX adaptive, just to get the two ends of the spectrum in terms of Bluetooth audio. This is quite simple. They both have very controlled, deep, enjoyable bass. They both have fantastic mid-range, so vocals and guitars and things cut through without being fatiguing or just not very pleasant at all. The difference out of the box without any EQing is that the Bose sound brighter. They sound a bit more hi-fi. That's the best way to put it. That said, you can tweak these with the EQ to get the same kind of top-end response, but out of the box, the Bose are just a bit brighter, and that counts for both AAC and the higher res audio codecs. What's interesting is that for both of these headphones with high res audio, they just come alive. They sound so good, and they're very difficult to choose between. In terms of what is better, unless you start doing real A/B testing, and if you've got an audiophile ear, which I haven't at all, to me the Bose just sound a bit brighter, a bit more immediately pleasing out of the box. But if you bought either of these headphones and listened to them in isolation, you're going to love them. They are 2 of the best sounding ANC headphones on the market. The other massive point of comparison, obviously, is noise cancelling. These are the 2 titans, aren't they? They're the 2 big boys vying for the crown. And They're both really good. This is where the whole headphone comparison thing can get a little bit silly, because I really had to A/B test these for a long time, going between both of them to try and work out which one might be better. And I came to the conclusion that the Sonys are just slightly better. The world goes slightly quieter when you put these on your head compared to these, but it's minor. And you have to have both to hand to find that out. And again, a little bit like the sound, if you buy either of these headphones, you're going to be so happy with the noise cancelling, because Bose and Sony know what they're doing. I think Sony just pips it. If you want to know that you've got the absolute best noise cancelling on the market, get the Sonys. But it is so close, guys. It's so ridiculously close. Transparency mode. This is when you allow the outside world to come in, so you can hear yourself on headphones, you can hear yourself on telephone calls, and you can be aware of your surroundings. The Bose are slightly better. They're both very good once again, but the Bose are slightly better than the XM6. There's a bit more fidelity there. You can hear yourself a bit better, and that works very nicely for telephone calls. And on the subject of calls, this is very important. Let's do a mic test. Right, let's start with the Bose QC Ultra 2s, walking down a road with some traffic passing, a little bit of wind hitting the ear cups. Immediately, the transparency mode is really good. I can hear myself nice and clear. Lots of fidelity there as well. Close to the AirPods Max, which is the gold standard. Anyway, this is the mic on the Bose. Let's switch to the Sony. So this is the Sony XM6. Traffic again. Exact same conditions, basically. Bit of wind hitting the ear cups. This is tricky conditions for noise cancelling headphones, and some of them do really struggle on this test that I do. Now, immediately, again, the transparency mode on these is not as good as the Bose. Just a little bit worse. Still pretty good though. But the key thing with this test is the mic. Which one's better? Get involved in the comments. Right, I need to pick a winner. I can't keep sitting on the fence here, and if you forced me to choose one of my favourite children, it would be the XM6. And the reason for that is because, firstly, the case is slightly better, it's just a bit more convenient. Secondly, the noise cancelling is a smidgen better, which means you would literally be getting the best noise cancelling on the market. The sound is still great. I know the Bose sound a little bit more pleasing straight out of the box, but it's still very, very good on the XM6. And most importantly, you get all that for less, because in most regions, I can't speak for exactly where you are, but certainly in the UK, the XM6 are cheaper than the Bose QC Ultra 2s, and I can't look past that. I know the Bose look better, objectively, but these are cheaper, and that means quite a lot these days. Guys, it's over to you now. This is a big battle, and I would love to know from you if you've tried both of these, or if you've made a decision and gone for one of them. Why? Get involved in the comments. If you haven't subscribed yet and you've loved this channel for a long, long time, and you've forgotten to hit that button, you know what to do. If you're new to this channel, you might need a couple more videos to really warm to me, who knows, but consider giving it a click as well. Get involved, I'll see you down there, and let me know which one you would buy.